p.m. on April 14th, 2026. The Town Board of Estes Park is now in session. If you'd like to stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance with us, you may do so. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We have one item that's not listed on the agenda, but things are showing up here like this. So I think we need, who is the ringleader on this?
You're
Me, I'm the ringleader. Well, this happens to be a momentous birthday. Most of the last decade, Mayor Pro Tem Marie Sinek has spent on this board, and she actually reaches a milestone tonight. We won't say what milestone, but when I reached that milestone 11 years ago, I thought it was pretty cool to get to that milestone, and you know, you're not in prison and you're not dead, and your kids have grown up responsible. So it's a wonderful thing, actually.
And I have to say, you started the last meeting with how many disasters happened on this
Yeah,
day. Thank
April
you very
14th.
much.
Yeah.
Titanic hit the iceberg. Lincoln was shot. I'm like, great, thanks.
Well, actually, April 14th is my older sister's birthday also. And when I would point out those disasters, I would say, but at least there's one good thing about April 14th. You were born. So there you go.
The only thing I would say, too, is in my family, when you turned 18, you had to do your taxes, your own taxes. And my
That's
father
true.
gave all
Stay
my
up all
stuff to
night.
me on the 14th and said, you can't go out.
Well, we have to do this properly, so happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Mayor Pro Tem Marie Sinek. Happy birthday to you. Hey, there you go. Wow, we have a little electrode over here. You got it turned off. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Any other speeches you'd like to make?
No, I think that's it.
Okay. We will move on with other business of the board. We do have a proclamation. Everybody can get their cupcakes while we're doing the proclamation related to Arbor Day. We traveled around a lot when I was a kid. I ended up in Nebraska for quite a few years, so got pretty close to Arbor Day. Planted a lot of trees when I lived in Nebraska. Tried to plant a few up here, and some survived. But I'm very much a fan of that, and I would like to read this proclamation in honor of Arbor Day. Whereas trees by their very existence improve the quality of the air we breathe, and whereas the Arbor Day holiday began in Nebraska City, Nebraska, and is now celebrated internationally, usually on the last Friday in April, occasionally on other dates locally selected. And whereas since 1972, the Arbor Day Foundation with its network has planted more than 500 million trees in 60 countries in fulfillment of its mission to inspire people to plant, nurture, and celebrate trees. And whereas trees improve water quality and watershed health in our forests, which cover 30% of the world's total land surface and house more than 80% of the land animals, plants, and insects. And whereas neighborhood trees tame the deadly summer heat and increase community resilience to our intense storms of today. And whereas the world needs more trees and we need them now. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Mayor and Board of Trustees of the town of Estes Park proclaim April 24th, 2026 as Arbor Day in the town of Estes Park, and encourage all citizens to participate in this year's Arbor Day celebrations and support efforts to protect our trees and woodlands and to plant trees to gladden the heart and promote the well-being of this and future generations. Is there anybody in the audience who is representative of any aspect of this? I think this will go to Brian Berg as the manager of the grounds, so we'll get that to him.
Do not be frightened. This is not real fire.
Well, we got that water coming down from the sky this afternoon, so we're all safe from fire. So. we will move on to the agenda approval. Are there any changes or additions to the agenda as written? If not, I'll take a motion in a second.
I'll move to approve the agenda as written.
Second.
Mayor Pro Tem Sinak moved to approve the agenda as written. Trustee Hazelton seconded. We can vote. Agenda approved as written. We're missing a vote. Oh, Trustee Lancaster. That's right. Will not be present. We still have sufficient trustees for a quorum and can conduct all our business tonight. Public comment. This is the section that is reserved for public comment for items not on the agenda. We can't discuss quasi-judicial items here. Those have to be taken to the appropriate public hearing. These are not intended to be a question and answer period or a dialogue. Does anyone want to make a public comment on an item not on the agenda? I see no movement, and that's good because I could not find my little cool timer today, so I would have to do it manually. So, yeah, yeah. Call up a few of your friends. All right, we'll move on to the town board comments and liaison reports. Trustee Eigel.
Thanks, Mayor. I have no report.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Sinak.
Thank you, Mayor. I have no report.
Trustee Hazelton.
I always have a report, as Bill said, but mine is very light tonight. Just a note that Visit Estes Park, our monthly meeting is this Thursday at 1:30. We do meet at the Visit Estes Park offices, which are over by the marina, or it's live streamed. You can watch online, tune in on Zoom, and it's recorded as well. Pretty light agenda, but one item of note is a review of the first quarter marketing that's been done, and that'll be presented by the new staff member, Amanda Sherlin. She's the VP of Visitor Experience. I mentioned her in my last report. So if you're interested in what's been going on from a marketing perspective from Visit Estes Park, tune in or watch the recording, and I'll also report at our next meeting. Just wanted to mention Mayor Hall and I, along with VEP CEO Sarah Leonard, got to judge the coffin races at Frozen Dead Guy Days, which was really fun. It was markedly warmer than it was last year when we had to do this, so I really enjoyed myself. But great event as always, great turnout, and awesome music, including Mayor Hall. But just want to give kudos to the event planners and the events team for helping put that on. It's a fabulous event. And just wanted to thank Marie in her last full meeting with us. She will be, I believe, here on the 28th for her outgoing, but just wanted to share my appreciation for Marie's time and energy and expertise and leadership, and certainly her friendship on this board. She's really helped me when I hopped on in this seat 4 years ago, and you will be greatly missed. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Thanks for your commitment to our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Brown.
So I'd like to echo that about Marie. We have not always agreed, but she's always been civil, and we will miss her very much. So thank you for your service. I am liaison to a couple of groups. Board of Adjustment is one of them that considers variances, and they approved at their last meeting, they approved a variance for the Housing Authority's development at Fish Creek, and it was a setback variance from the wetlands, and so that was
Fish Hatchery.
Fish Hatchery. Did I say?
You said Fish Creek.
Oh, sorry, Fish Hatchery. Yeah, Fish Hatchery. So that was done, and on a related note, you probably know that there was a proposal made to the Housing Authority to purchase the upper units at Fall River Village and Skyview. That was acted upon at the last Housing Authority meeting, and they decided not to proceed with that. We're going to have, from our study session, we decided we are going to do a study session about Housing Authority matters, and that, as well as the move of the Housing Authority offices to Skyview, will be be dealt with at that time, and that'll be on June 9th, I think, we decided. So that's about all I have. I'd like to welcome Jamie Miras and Chris Eshelman here. They are newly elected and will be sworn in at our next board meeting. So thanks for coming. This is your last chance to get out of it. But look forward to working with you. So thanks.
Thanks. One of the things I sit on is the Behavioral Health Larimer Policy Council, which met yesterday down in Fort Collins, and Larimer County is actually doing for May, which is Mental Health Awareness Month, they're doing a proclamation. I considered reading that tonight, but I think I will read that on the 28th, the Larimer County proclamation, because it really says everything that we would like to say about the progress on mental health, the challenge of mental health awareness and actions and support. And so on the 28th, I'll go ahead and read that on the eve of May. That being said, we can move to the town administrator report.
Thank you, Mayor. Sunday marked the start of National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week. This week-long event was established in 1981 to honor and celebrate the hardworking individuals that are on the other side of the line when you call on what might be the worst day of your life. I want to take a moment to thank all of our dispatchers at the Estes Park Emergency Communications Center. They do a fantastic job dispatching not only for our police department, but the Estes Valley Medical Center's medical service team, emergency medical services team, the Estes Valley Fire Protection District, the Glen Haven Fire Department, and various municipal departments across the town, including Light and Power, Water, and Public Works. They also dispatch emergency medical calls to Allens Park, Pinewood Springs, and Big Elk Meadows, and provide dispatching services to the Park Service on off hours. So I would invite the community to join me in celebrating National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week, which is a mouthful, and appreciating the hard work of our folks in our dispatch center. They do a wonderful job for us.
Thanks for that. And yesterday I hustled over to Sugar Shack, and I think I took about 15,000 calories up to dispatch, and then realized they only have 8 people, so that's several thousand calories per.
It's okay.
But
They'll be ready for the summer.
They're all in good shape, but yeah, that'll keep them awake through the night.
One other item, at the last town board meeting, Trustee Lancaster asked about the steps taken by staff to prevent a repeat of the auditor's finding in this past 2024 audit with regard to the adjustments that they had to make. I want to run through those really quickly. I've mentioned this to the board, but I want to make sure it's on the public record as well. So there were 4 items that contributed to the auditor's finding. The reversal of a grants receivable in the Power Communications Fund. So we're going to work to make a double review of our grant worksheet to ensure that that doesn't have to happen again. The capitalization of a prepaid expense of $51,963 in the IT fund. We're going to continuously review our invoice dates and subscription periods to make sure that when we have a subscription period that crosses a year, we put that in the correct accounting year. A correction of a duplicated capital outlay entry of $260,000 in the Street Improvements Fund. That was related to a miscalculation relative to broadband improvements associated with the Cleve Street project. Finance is going to make a closer pass of internal invoices from work orders across departments. So when Public Works is billing one of the utilities, or when one of the utilities is billing Public Works. And then lastly, we had to restate a $369,058 amount for an unrecorded 2023 subscription-based technology license. This is a recent GASB General Accounting Standards Board pronouncement 96. So we're going to make a continuous review of all of our subscription service invoices to avoid having to restate those in the future. We are still implementing and learning that new GASB pronouncement. Finance Director Zimmerman is here if there are specific technical questions that I would be less suited for. I do want to restate that while we recognize these were challenges and adjustments that had to be made after the fact, we did disagree with the auditor's statement of those as a significant deficiency in internal controls. We do believe our internal controls are sufficient to prevent material misstatements of the town's financial statements, as we discussed when we presented the 2024 audit to you all late last year.
Trustee Brown.
So the internal thing on Cleve Street, that was just from department to department, right? We didn't double pay somebody outside of
Correct. That was a department
Okay.
charge. It's essentially a transfer between
Got it.
funds
Okay.
that we had to reverse.
Any other questions on that topic for Travis or for our finance director? Good. Does that conclude your report?
Yes, Mayor, that's all I have.
Okay. We'll move on to the consent agenda, which I will read in full into the record. Item 1, expenditure approval list, which are bills. Item 2, town board meeting and study session minutes dated March 24th, 2026. Item 3, Estes Park Board of Adjustment minutes dated March 3rd, 2026. 4, Resolution 3526, setting the public hearing dates of May 12th, 2026 and May 26th, 2026, to consider consent of the inclusion of certain properties within the town of Estes Park into the Northern Colorado Water Conservancy District and its municipal subdistrict pursuant to CRS 3745-136 3.6. Item 5, Resolution 3626, Professional Services Contract for Geographical Information Systems with Envision GIS, $400,000 budgeted. Item 6, Public Art Proposal from the Estes Park Middle School Environmental Resilience Team located at Mrs. Walsh's Garden and the Visitor Center. And item 7, Resolution 3726, granting the town administrator signature authority for an IGA with the Colorado Department of Public Health and Environment for the fiscal year 2026 closed landfill remediation grant program, cycle number 2, for remediation of the Estes Park landfill. Does any member of the public, including the town board, request to have an item removed from the consent agenda for further discussion? I see none. In that case, I'll take a motion and second.
I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
A second.
Trustee Hazelton moved to approve the consent agenda as written. Trustee Eigel seconded. We can vote. Is approved unanimously. We'll move on to reports and discussion items outside entities. Item 1 is the 2025 base funding report, Estes Arts District, which had a really big year last year with our designation and all. We have co-chairs Dana Paymont and Lars Sage. Welcome.
Will you turn the mic on?
Oh, yeah.
Just at the bottom, there's a little button you press. There you
And
go.
is the presentation on here? This one? No. Oh, there it is.
Okay, here we are.
Great. Yes, sir.
Yeah,
Okay.
as we introduced, I'm Lars Sage, I'm co-chair. I'm also one of the founding members of the Estes Arts District, which has been around for almost 11 years when we first started it. Dana?
Great. Yeah, and I'm Dana Paymont. And first, I just really want to thank you all for the base funding that we've received in the past. So we're really excited for the updates that we have done this year and future plans. So we're excited to present to you all tonight.
Yeah, the Estes Arts District is an umbrella arts organization and committed to the economic growth through the arts and business partnerships, forging a creative community of collaboration, creativity, education, inclusion, and cultural vitality in the Estes Valley.
Great. We're going back and forth here, as you
Yeah.
can see. So we're really excited about the Estes Art District board members, board of directors. Lars and I are the co-presidents. Most of our board was able to make it here tonight, so I won't read off the names, but we're really excited about this diverse group that obviously we have experience with Visit Estes Park. Lars, tons of art experience. We have Kylie now from the Chamber. We have Rocky Mountain Channel and High Peaks Media with David Hernandez. North Peak Media. I knew I was saying that wrong. And a local art business owner. So we're really excited to have such a diverse representation on the board.
And one of the things too is that we have gone through a whole transformation over the past few months with, and including these new board members now. And also, one of the great things that we are proud of is the fact that we have earned the designation of as a Colorado Creative District, and through the Colorado Creative Industries. It's one of the major achievements we've been able to get through at the end of last year. And you saw there's a painting of our ribbon cutting, which the mayor was there for and gave a proclamation on our behalf. And we're excited about starting this whole new year as a creative arts district through the state.
Yeah, and just to touch on that too, none of that would be possible without the base funding. That was a key component that we needed to get the certification. So without the town's support, that wouldn't have happened. So we're really grateful for that, and all of the community partners and organizations and Visit Estes Park and everyone who came together to support and make that happen. It was really a community effort.
So as a result of the base funding, the Estes Arts District, in collaboration with Visit Estes Park, we came to put together a fund to be able to make a full-time position out of this. Visit Estes Park matched every dollar that Estes Arts District put up with. We came up with $27,000, which included what you gave us, and plus, when we became a creative arts district, we earned a grant from Colorado Creative Industries and used some of that money to do that, and Visit Estes Park matched that dollar for dollar. And we would like to introduce the result of our search for our arts and culture program director, Talia Sains. And so we're proud. She just officially started today, and we have a lot of plans and ideas that she's going to be taking care of. And we're glad, Dana and I are glad to be able to have someone to pass some work to, because we've been trying to cover this. So we're excited, and we just want to introduce her, and I'm sure she'll be around to see a number of events that we've been sponsoring here as well.
Thanks. And another key highlight is we do now have an official headquarters downtown on Elkhorn, which for those of you that were at the CCI event, you got to see our cool little funky, quirky space. And we're working on developing plans. That's one of the goals of Talia, is to figure out how to best utilize that space. And we know it's an important location, and we just hope it can be a really good opportunity for the community to come together, collaborate, and just really make that a good, useful community space for the art, for our art community in Estes.
Also, one of the neat things that we have already started doing is we've been, for all the years, we've been sponsoring the Friends of Folk concerts at Performance Park, and this will be our 11th year doing that. All the exciting things is we're starting to do some mural projects. And you can see that Blue Spoon is one of our major murals we just completed. And we understand you've just had a study session about murals.
Good timing.
And we also, thought as the Estes Arts District, that we have any input or way of collaborating with you to develop whatever you're working on. We certainly want to offer our services in that regards.
Just curious, where is that mural?
Inside.
Inside. It's inside.
We had to do it in January.
I don't have to take my can of spray paint.
No.
You don't, no. And this was a grant that Lars and I inherited as we were evolving into the chair positions that we had to get done in the winter. So we found an indoor location, and we're able to complete that one. But we do have plans to really roll out a process, and obviously work with you all on, what is the application process for a business that perhaps we have grant funding for, that we can help sponsor a public art piece to be there. How can we make it fair for all the muralists in town to submit, and just really making sure that's a really well thought out process that is fair and engages the community to make sure it's what people want to see.
And this is a result of the Village Thrift Shop
Yeah.
grant. And we have now one for North NOCO, and we're trying to plan on what we're going to use that money for one of the other murals. And we just got awarded, we're not sure if it was a full amount, but Village Thrift Shop has given us another grant for murals. And one of the things that we are hoping to do is both, there's a tile project that we have involved in image we want to work on, but also one of the things that we want to do is also involve youth and have a youth mural project type of thing. And one of the things we're going to come before you to, as a proclamation, is declaring August as an Arts and Culture Month, because we have, the Arts Center has a plenary event going on. There's an art studio tour, and the Fine Arts Guild is going to be doing a play. So we think there are a lot of cultural and arts things that are going on that we want to enhance the month as that cultural arts and cultural month for us.
And another thing listed on here is First Friday. That's another goal that we have for Talia, is to help revitalize that and get more partners involved and really make that a really prominent year-round event in Estes Park on Fridays and highlight all of the art businesses and galleries and things in town.
So looking ahead, and one of the things that we've got Talia here, and she's going to be working on creating what we call an umbrella organization, getting all these arts organizations together, so we begin to strengthen our arts programs here and speak as one voice through the Estes Arts District. That's one of our goals. One of the things that we want to also make you aware of, we're making a plan for May 13th of an event that we want to invite you to. We call it an open house, basically, and introduce you to our home headquarters and some of the plans that we have ahead, especially for the mural projects that we want to do, and certainly want to include you to be part of that event. And it's just going to be a relaxing, open house, kind of relaxing, playing some activities to introduce you into it and have a little refreshments and stuff like that. So we're trying to, and it's also a way of introducing all the board and also our new director.
Great. And another thing to touch on is, as part of the umbrella organization, we're putting together an art advisory committee where we want to engage with the other nonprofits and organizations in town to make sure we're going in a direction and a united path forward. So that is another task that we're really focused on, is developing that umbrella organization and inviting those partners to come in and be a part of the future planning for Estes Arts District.
And also, I think the key thing too, which is exciting, is the collaboration that the Estes Arts District has with the Visit Estes Park, and utilizing our talents and skills in both in marketing and in the whole promotions of the arts in any way we can here. And of course, with the exciting thing that's coming up with the Sundance Film Festival and other future things, we think we're, we say, kind of on a tipping point to really enhance the arts in our community.
Great, that's it. Any questions?
Well, I will say that Blue Spoon mural is very beautiful, actually, so I got to go see it live. I know Irina and Oleg, who own the deli and opened the Blue Spoon late last summer, I think, and hopefully they have good success with it this year. Just pronunciation, is it Talia or Talia? Oh, okay. Because I heard both up here.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Well, very good to have you on board, and good to see all the rest too. So thanks for the help that you provide for this vibrant part of Estes Park. Other comments or questions? We have none.
Great.
Well,
Great
thank you.
job.
Thank you
Great, I
all.
appreciate
Thanks
it. Thank
for
you very
all.
much. And again, thank you for your funding and making everything possible.
Thanks.
Our next two items are public hearings, I believe, relating to the liquor licensing, so two liquor items. So the first one is a application to transfer a beer and wine liquor held by Sweet Basilico Cafe. May Raul have a good retirement. DBA Sweet Basilico Cafe to Karma Foods LLC, DBA Sweet Basilico Cafe, located at 430 Prospect Village Drive, Estes Park, Colorado. The town clerk, and she is here, will present the application to transfer beer and wine liquor license to Karma Foods LLC, DBA Sweet Basilico Cafe, and confirm the items listed.
Thank you, Mayor and Board. So we do start off tonight with a transfer liquor license. This is a long-standing liquor license, as you all noted, Mayor. May Rao will have a nice retirement. We do have new owners of this business. So they're here tonight requesting a transfer of that liquor license, which was filed on February 20th. As noted in the memo, a temporary was issued for them to continue operating that business, and they've been doing such since that time. We have received all the necessary paperwork and fees for this liquor license transfer, which is filing as an LLC. There was a police report provided to you for the property, and as of this moment, I am not sure, but the applicant could probably clarify this. I should have clarified with him when we met in the hall here. The tips, or not tips training, but it's called responsible vendor training now, so I didn't catch it on this one. I don't have that as scheduled. However, I will note that they own other restaurants. I believe all of them are in the Durango area, but he could also clarify that if you have any questions related to this transfer. And I would take any questions now if you had any as well.
Questions for Jackie? Does the applicant have any comments they'd like to make? Did you say they were present here? Yes. You may make comments.
All right, sure. Good evening, sir, members of the community. My name is Sunil Guru. I'm originally from Nepal. I just want to say something here. Actually, it's a good chance for me to say. So I came here in 2001 as an international student. I did my degree in computer science in Western Pennsylvania, a very small town. And then I've worked in many corporate companies like Disney, DirecTV, NFL, and last, I have a great appreciation for this motherland. I've only got great opportunities. I've done very well. Coming from one of the poorest countries in the world, I'm very, very grateful and fortunate to be here. And I'm today. Now I've been living in this city for a month and a half now, and I'm very grateful again. And I would like to be a great member of the community and also contribute to the economy and be a great member here. And again, thank you. All I have is appreciation and gratitude to this motherland. Thank you.
Good to meet you. Any questions for the applicant or town clerk?
Welcome. Thank you.
I do not see an opportunity for public comment on this particular script, but if there is any public comment related to this application, I would take it now, and I see no movement toward that. Therefore, this public hearing is closed. We can now discuss further or take any other motion.
Mayor, I move to approve Resolution 38-26 for the transfer of a beer and wine liquor license filed by Karma Foods LLC, DBA Sweet Basilico Cafe.
I'll second.
Trustee Hazelton moved to approve this resolution, and Mayor Pro Tem Sinak seconded. If there's no further discussion, we can vote. There you go. Your application, the resolution passes. I look forward to visiting the business over there. Are you doing remodeling? I'm just curious. No? Yeah. Okay. All right. Carry on. We'll move on to item 2 on the liquor items, resolution 3926. This will be the public hearing on the application of Estes Rooftop Hub, Inc., DBA Soleil Rooftop Cantina and Tequila Bar for a new hotel and restaurant liquor license located at 165 Virginia Drive, Estes Park, Colorado. At this hearing, the Liquor Licensing Authority shall consider the facts and evidence determined as a result of its investigation, as well as any of the facts, the reasonable requirements of the neighborhood for this type of license for which this application has been made, the desires of the adult inhabitants, the number, type, and availability of liquor outlets located in or near the neighborhood under consideration, and any other pertinent matters affecting the qualification of the applicant for the conduct of the type of business proposed. Public hearing is open. Town Clerk, you have your report.
Great. Thank you again, Mayor. Again, I'll note with this liquor license, this location was previously licensed as of December. The licensee that was there, whose license expired in December, did not renew it, and therefore this new restaurant is coming into play. So it was recently licensed, if that's helpful for you to understand when considering.
What was the name of that business?
La Cabana.
Yeah, Cabana.
So this restaurant is coming in to play. They filed their application on March 9th. You set this public hearing at your last meeting on March 24th. The neighborhood boundaries for this license are 3.15 miles. Again, we've received all the necessary paperwork and hearing costs. They're filing as a corporation, and the property is Zone CD, which is commercial downtown, which allows this type of business to be permitted. The notice of this hearing was published on April 3rd, as well as posting the property on April 3rd. Again, training for this, TIPS training previously, now responsible vendor training has been completed by the applicants as they own several other entities as noted in the memo. Himalayan Curry Kebab, Lonigan's Bar and Grill, Estes Park Brewery, and in the past, Wild Rose and Molly B's. So they've been doing many ventures here in Estes Park and are very well versed on liquor licensing and having liquor licenses. And also there was I think we already noted there was a police report in your packet as well. So with that, they are here today. They are able to answer any other questions you might have, but I take any questions on the application if you have any at this time.
I see none for you. The applicant can state their case as they desire and present any evidence to support the application.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, everyone. I just want to say that Wild Rose Food and Spirits was operating for over 20 years, and the last year we chose to step away from that location. So instead of that location, the same owners are moving now to different locations. So just staying as an independent business for me and with other business partners. So I'm only having this business venture with them. The rest they all have separately. But for me, I'm trying to have a better future in this location other than I had before. Thank you.
Thank you. If there is any public comment in regard to this application, we could take that now. And I see none. Town Clerk, have any other communications been received in regard to the application? And if so, read those for us.
We've not received any communication related to this liquor license, Mayor.
All right. All evidence presented will be accepted as part of the record. Trustee Igo, you have a question?
I have a motion.
We'll wait until
When
the
you're
public
ready.
hearing is closed. So no further questions for that. I will close the public hearing. Yes, questions?
May I make a
Oh,
motion?
motion. Yeah, right.
I'd motion that we approve Resolution 3926 regarding this new liquor license.
Second?
Trustee Igo moved to approve 3926. Trustee Brown seconded. And if there's no further comments, which I do not see any, we'll vote. You sure get that vote thing to come up fast. Whatever you're doing, yeah, so. And it passes, so, good. Thanks for being here, too. We appreciate you being here for the application. All right, we'll move on to other action items. The next one is Resolution 4026, Supplemental Budget Appropriations, number 1 to the 2026 budget, and I believe Finance Director Tammy Zimmerman will be presenting.
Thank you, Mayor and Trustees. Just give me a second to pull up presentation pulled together. Okay. Thank you. Okay. So tonight is the budget amendment number 1 for our fiscal year 2026 budget. And I'll note that we are having a change in expenditures of around a little over 46 million. And I'll explain why it's this large here in a second. But that brings our total expenditures for all of the funds in the Town of Estes Park's budget to 134 million. I do need to acknowledge that town staff has worked very hard to go through our year-end close process, reviewing all of our grant details, the purchase orders, the project activity, updating our elaborate spreadsheets. We do love Excel spreadsheets, projecting a fund balance estimate prior to all of our audit entries being complete, and meeting with the various departments to discuss amendments that are needed. So this is a copy of what was identified in Resolution 40-26, and it's going through each fund and the amended change to the appropriations or the expenditures. So budget amendment number 1 is large in movement because it accomplishes 3 major tasks. It rolls our purchase orders, and our purchase orders are defined as kind of binding agreements where we entered into 2025, for example, goods that were ordered but not yet delivered, or services not yet complete. The second major one is a roll forward of projects and grants. So the town usually loads upfront the entire project budget cost, and any unspent or incomplete balances are re-encumbered or re-obligated. And then the third one are adjustments that were identified by departments. For example, awarding of grants, identifying a new need, or adjusting a projection. And I will note that any transfers between funds do need approval by the town board. So Resolution 40-26, in summary, will reappropriate budgets that are tied to these purchase orders and the projects that are still in process. It is standard accounting process for government entities to bring forth their roll forwards to their town board for approval. We're moving the funds from 25 to 2026, ensuring that ongoing projects and obligations can be met. And this also includes rolling of associated grant revenues, the budgets that have yet to be reimbursed by those grant entities. And with this budget amendment, we're ensuring that we maintain our funds security. We're following our Finance Policy 660, where we have ending fund balances that are restricted. Our general fund, the end result is that it's projected to be 32.5% of our operating expenditures. If you combine that with the Community Reinvestment Fund, our ending fund balance is 44.3%. And we do a calculation where our ongoing expenditures do not exceed our ongoing revenues. Now, estimated fund balances will be updated after completion of our audit, which is projected to complete in July. I was just going to quickly go over some of the departmental requests for changes that aren't our project roll forwards or our purchase order roll forwards. And we have some changes to our proposed salaries. We did do a FTE increase in December of 2025 for our museum assistant, and I did mention I'd be coming forward with the salary part of that because we hired in 2026. And so that's about $45,000. And we are extending the contracts for our 2 museum assistants. They were scheduled to end in May, extending that through December, and that's an additional cost of about $50,000. And combined, those will be funded with a restricted donation. In our general fund, we have added expenses related to our Tyler ERP SaaS renewal of about $60,000. We have about $35,000 in grants related to our public safety. These are matching, no matching, local match, so we have an offset with revenue as well. And then about $12,000, $9,000 of that is related to rodeo. We have increased revenue for the rodeo, and that's going out in rodeo prize money. And the same with the purchase of 2 museum printers. We have an increase in room rental revenue, and that will fund the purchase of those printers. And the parking service fund, we have an increase of about $7,000 for their vehicle replacement cost and about $4,800 for broadband services. And the water fund, the Tyler ERP SaaS renewal is split between 3 funds, general fund, water, and power and communications. So water's portion is $10,000. And then in the power and communications, it's $19,800 for the SaaS renewal. And we are increasing for about $44,000 for our Public Utility Commission admin fees and shredding services that have increased as we go through and shred some paper. And our medical insurance fund, we are increasing by $15,000. This is a well-attended wellness program in 2025, and so anticipation that it will be the same in 2026. And our fleet maintenance fund, about $37,000, is increasing to reimburse a CDOT grant where we rescinded a trolley barn grant funding. The grant, CDOT had already reimbursed us for our design cost, so they are having to be repaid since we rescinded it. And in our facility management fund, about $200,000, we had set aside in a repair reserve, and we're just pulling that out with anticipated cost and replacing our public works, internal services roof, and the Regent restroom roof as well. And with that, I open it up to any questions that you might have, and if I can answer them, I will, or I may call on the other departments.
Trustee Brown.
Yeah, if you can go back to the prior slide. So my question is on power and communications, the $44,000 Public Utility Commission administrative fee. I had thought when we had talked previously about our electric utility that part of the reason we charge uniform rates throughout our electrical system is to avoid being subject to regulation by the Public Utility Commission. So I'm trying to understand how that relates, and perhaps we could have input. Ruben, you may not have heard what I said.
Actually hoping Tammy would answer.
Yeah.
It is a quarterly fee.
It's basically how do I professionally say this? The PUC funding, administrative fees, we are not subject to their rulings or oversight, but we get to help pay for them.
Oh, okay. Is this a new charge or?
No, we pay it every year.
Okay.
They must have gone up.
All right. Okay, thank you.
Other questions for Tammy or others? I'm very glad you understand all this stuff. I understand enough in concept to know what these adjustments relate to and everything. And Travis probably even understands most of it, you know. So. But I don't have questions. Trustee Hazelton?
No questions either. I just wanted to thank you for the very clear memo that helped
Yeah.
me understand this better than looking at the chart.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Given that, is there any public comment on this particular resolution? And I don't see any. I can take a motion.
I move for the approval of Resolution 40-26.
A second?
Trustee Hazelton moved to approve. Mayor Pro Tem Sinak seconded, and we can vote. All right, supplemental budget appropriations number 1.
Thank you.
All buttoned up. Thank you. We'll move on to item 2 on the action items, revised policy 842, parking permits, and Manager Dana Klein.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and Trustees. This item before you is a revision to policy 842, and specifically for the business permit, the commercial loading. That is the permit that allows local business owners to load and unload commercial vehicles from the downtown parking lots. And as part of that permit, holders are also allowed overnight parking during the permit busy season, May through October. And at present, that's at a designated lot, which is the Museum Annex at 224th Street. And as a reminder and this is all in your memo, obviously, but at your October 28th, 2025 study session, some folks that utilized that permit came in and voiced some concerns with that location based on proximity to their business and some other challenges. So at your direction, we went ahead and looked at some alternatives for that location. And one of the best one that we found at the time was the Davis parking lot at 283 Moraine Street as a great alternative or strong candidate for that. And at the February 24th study session where we presented that to you, the board did indicate that they wanted us to move forward with bringing that to you as a proposed revision to that policy 842. So we got all that done, and one of the things that was asked of us at that February study session was that we contact those businesses in that area. So we contacted the 4 that were in that area through email and a couple of personal visits. We also contacted I contacted 3 of the current permit holders that utilize that permit type. And of those 3, one of them said that they're not interested in using that location, that it doesn't help them with their business. The other one is very affirmative to that location. And the third one, which was the post office, actually said, some of us kind of like the location we're at, and some of us do like the newer location, to make your decision even more difficult. So that's the feedback that I received. I did not receive any written feedback from the 4 businesses in the area. I did have communications with them about how many permits are sold or how many we assume will be sold this year. And that's the crux of the outreach that we did. So the question before you this evening is the revision of that permit to that new location, which would be the Davis lot instead of the Museum Annex lot. And I'm happy to answer any questions, or if there's more information, happy to provide
I'll first ask if there's public comment. And I do see. Yes, sir, state your name.
Yes, Scott
and,
Larimore,
3 minutes.
252 Mountain View Lane. I own a business right across the street from that lot. How do I get in touch with you so I can gain access? If we could talk offline.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Dana, further comments?
I'll talk to that gentleman, obviously.
So thank you for doing the legwork on this. It's been a long time that you've been working on this. But in the final conversation now, I don't hear a strong sentiment to move it to Davis Lot versus keeping it at the museum where it is now. Do you think that the feedback you've gotten and having gone through this entire exercise and looked at all the options, is this our best choice in your professional opinion that is much better informed than we are, or should we stick with it the way it is?
My answer to that, I assume that question would come up, and I keep thinking back to Trustee Lancaster's response last time that we're pushing a balloon. We're just moving the parts around. And then I think back to Town Administrator Mahalick's comment last time that this is not the final solution for this issue, obviously. So for this year, I probably would go with this or some type of hybrid between the two if that's something that we want to, move out there with. But obviously, I need to have a decision in place quickly so that we can have it enacted in time for the season. So I didn't answer your question, obviously.
Well, just to give you feedback, though, on having watched this and not really sticking my nose deep into it, based on the information that you've provided us, I would not make any changes. I would stick with it as it is because this brings the parking into the downtown core, and it maybe brings the challenges of having extra vehicles in the downtown core downtown. So while you didn't get any feedback from those businesses, we haven't brought the, sometimes people react instead of proactively anticipate what's going to happen. There wasn't a lot of sentiment from anyone other than the postal carriers that was negative about the arrangement with parking at the museum versus coming downtown. So my inclination, based on what you've presented us, would be not to make a change and to stick with it at the museum as it is now.
Yeah, I think the folks at the museum would, like it moved, obviously, as well, because they have their business operations there and some things going on.
So to that, what do you think the number of cars how many people does that affect versus how many spaces do they have? And the Davis lot, which is fairly small in a very dense part and well-traveled, and now just in the last year, much more developed section of our downtown core, that seems to be a dynamic that we have not addressed. There's been a lot of development. There's more coming. I think that parking is going to be even tighter at that end of town. So maybe I'm leaning even more towards keeping it the same and not moving it.
I have to disagree with that assessment. I've probably had more conversation and involvement in the last 6-8 months with the United States Postal Service locally and elsewhere. And I do think that if we recall back to the impassioned discussions that we had from some of the key representatives of the carriers, how very problematic the current setup is. I just have to, based on the amount of information and input I've seen in this boardroom and reaffirming it elsewhere, and even the post office, asking for public comment, they seem to be pretty well convinced that we have a substantial problem with space and parking relating to our longtime post office. All of that together, I'm absolutely in favor of moving forward with this. It may not be a permanent solution, may not even be a long-term solution, but it moves us into a better place based on every vector I know about this project. Trustee Brown.
So I have a question and then a follow-up. You said that the Postal Service people had a split as to whether they wanted to do this or not. Could you explain that a little further? Because I heard what the mayor had said from the postal people previously.
Sure, and that's why in the last couple weeks when I reached out to a few of those permit holders that have purchased that in the past, it was the post office leadership locally that had told me that some of the carriers still like that post or the museum annex location because it's out of the way and they can leave extra vehicles, at that location for turnover with other, I guess, carriers, rural route carriers that would come into town during the busy times of the day. So I did get that indication that they were split, but again, it was verbal. I didn't get any word from
isn't
anyone.
my understanding was that this is essentially overnight parking
That is correct.
only. And so if they brought a vehicle and then picked up their overnight parking vehicle to deliver, they have to pay for parking or?
Well, that's why we picked that's one of the reasons we chose the Davis lot, because it's one of our designated free lots.
Oh, it's a free parking,
Yes,
okay.
sir. Yes.
And so it would use up space during the daytime while they're delivering?
That is correct.
Okay.
And during the daytime, that lot is one of the underutilized ones at 74.8%, I think.
Oh, okay, so there is capacity.
There has been capacity
And
in
how
the
many,
past.
how many postal employees or postal permits are we talking about?
I think last year, I knew you were gonna ask
10
me
or
that. It
12.
was- Yeah, it was, I think it was 13 to 14 of them were
Yeah.
purchased.
Okay,
But then 10 to 12 of those were out on a daily basis.
okay. So we will use 10 or 12 of those spots presumably during the daytime as well as at night.
Correct.
Okay. All right, I think I agree with the mayor on the point of view of, there was such an interest in this from particularly the postal people to do this, and Mr. Larimore might be using it too. We'll see. I think it's a good, at least temporary solution, and I would support it.
Oh, yeah, it obviously wasn't a scientific study that you're presenting to us, so there may have been some anecdote and it cycled through the postmistress, if I'm understanding what you're saying. I mean, I feel if we brought in the leaders of the contract group, we would hear the same thing that we heard before. Absolutely make the move. Trustee Hazelton.
I'm intrigued at the hybrid approach that you just said, but only if we could make it happen tonight and not send this back yet another time for Dana to bring back to us. Because then if we have carriers who prefer that for overnight, great. It pulls them out of downtown to accomplish Trustee Eichel's comment, which I tend to agree with, especially because I know some of those permit holders, how they will, depending on the time of day, they will have to cycle back into the loop to get back to where their office is. And so that just, I mean, it's not a bajillion cars, right? It's not a huge difference, but it does, in theory, it could layer some traffic in that we're trying to avoid. So if it was possible to amend, to make a substitute motion based on what's presented here, that basically says by adding the Davis parking lot and including, in addition to the museum annex lot, I don't know if that would be sufficient, but that'd be something I'd be interested in. Attorney Kramer, is
Trustee
that?
Hazelton, I don't see that as a problem.
Okay.
It's a really small change in the first place.
Okay.
It's a small change to a small change.
Okay.
It's not like reordering a whole ordinance.
Great.
And it may be a very small number that are interested in that
Exactly.
exemption or
So-
whatever.
The way I might word it is just to say museum annex parking lot or Davis parking lot.
Okay.
It might be just that easy.
And I'm happy to hear if the board feels differently, but I'd be willing to make that motion if there was interest.
Trustee Eigel.
I think that's a much better idea than shifting the whole thing to Davis. So I'd wholeheartedly support that. It'd give us an opportunity to see what was working, more of a test than forcing everyone to move into the loop, to add to congestion, to take away parking, et cetera, et cetera. And so I think that's a great idea.
Based on that, we could take a motion. We already did.
All right, I said I was gonna do this, and now I have to do this. I move for the approval of revision of policy 842 to update permit type business permit commercial loading with the addition of Davis parking lot, so that, I'm scrolling down to the actual language, so that the language reads, and I can name which one this is, it's F6. From May 1 to October 31, between the hours of 5 p.m. and 10 a.m., parking shall be permitted in the museum annex parking lot, 224th Street, or Davis parking lot, 283 Marine Avenue. Is that okay?
I second it.
Trustee Hazelton made the revised motion. Trustee Eigel seconded that. We can vote on this substitute resolution. It's not a resolution, it's a policy change. All right then, flexibility reigns. Thank you,
Thank
Manager
you.
Klein.
Mayor Pro Tem, thank you for all of your questions and support and debate and everything that you've given me over the years. I appreciate that very much. Thank you.
Aren't you on the agenda on the 28th, or you can
It's,
say it again then?
Consent, I believe, but
Yeah.
yes. So I'll be in the back like this.
Hopefully there's a consensus about that, I don't know.
We will move on to Policy 109, Item 3, Public Comment. I believe Town Clerk Williamson will grace this topic with her presence.
One more time tonight. Thank you,
Yes,
Mayor.
yeah.
So you all recall that we've had a couple meetings at study sessions regarding this new policy. This would be a new policy for you all regarding public comment. We did discuss it at the February 24th and the March 24th study session. You gave me some further comments on this policy, and what I brought forward to you tonight is this policy with all of those comments, just to kind of highlight it for the public as well. This would be public comment, both written and public comment provided at the town board meetings. So we've tried to put that all in one policy. Really, the major change is to get some consistency on how we're handling written public comment and what's included in the packet and what is not. So to just provide that really quickly for the community that's here and listening, comments, written public comments for town board items will be received, can be submitted and received by the town clerk's office no later than 4 p.m. on Monday prior to the town board meeting. So that would be, for this meeting, for example, would have been yesterday at 4 p.m. Any comments received will be included in the packet. That will be considered the final packet for you all so that you have time to review it, digest it, and make decisions based on the public comment you've received, both written and public comment at the meetings. Public comments that you all receive that are not received directly by either the form that we have for public comment or sent to the town clerk at estes.org. You may forward them to the town board or to the town clerk's office if you all deem them important to be included in the packet. Again, it would be following that same deadline, and then those would be included as well in the packet. That's just for some clarity. The town clerk's office does not go through the email, your guys' public email that you receive to mine that information and put it in the packet. So I just want to make sure the public is aware of that. The other thing I want to make sure, any comments that we do receive after that deadline, they will not be included, nor will they be included in the final packet. So we wanted to be really clear with the public on that as well. We did also pull out of one of your other policies, 103, comments related to how public comment would be handled. So we did clean that up a little bit based on the comments that you all provided us. I did note there was a couple little small typos in the final one we gave you. We'll have to just clean that up a little bit. Like, it still shows a 4 that's blank, and I think 7 maybe that's blank. We'll clean those up. You might have noted those. I did note that as I was reviewing this tonight. Really, those were removing a couple of comments that were previously in Policy 103 that we removed per our legal advice. So if you have any comments on any of that, I'd be happy to go over it. Otherwise, I'll take any questions you might have.
And before we get to questions, are there any public comments on the public comment policy revision? And I see none. Questions from the board? I think the 4 p.m. thing was one of the biggest, probably most substantial, so we have clarity of what happens day of the board meeting.
Just one quick thing, and sorry if you said this as I was just reviewing.
Sure.
If Monday's a holiday, you'll do it the next morning, and do you have an idea, like, would staff shoot to get that to the town, so that the community can understand by noon on Tuesday or
Sure.
whatever?
I think our goal, of course, always depending on how much public comment we receive, would be as soon as possible on Tuesday morning to give you as much time to review that, but it would be no later than noon. I can't imagine it would take us more than that amount of time to ensure that we got all those public comments in that we received.
Okay, thanks.
Yes.
If no other comments, I would entertain a motion. Trustee Ike?
I'm preparing to make a motion. I'm trying to find it. I would motion that we approve policy 109 regarding public comment.
Second.
Trustee Ige move to approve policy 109 revisions for public comment. Trustee Hazelton seconded. We can vote. We're good. Thank you, Jackie. We will move on to the last of our action items. We have a couple report and discussion items after that. Resolution 4126, Second Amendment to the Kimley Horn and Associates, Inc. Professional Services Contract for Mall Road Water Line Bidding and Construction Phase Services. We have Utility Project Manager Jackie Wesley here to present. Sometimes it takes the magic touch from the town clerk's office. You only have 5 seconds left.
She's approaching.
I know. Right.
Jackie, we turn on my
Sorry, Jackie Wesley, Project Manager at Utilities. I'm here to talk about amendment number 2 for Kimley Horn. But I also wanted to briefly go through the project and why they're proposing this contract amendment. So this is associated with the Mall Road Waterline Looping Project, and that's the one we've been talking about for a while. Real quick, go through a project overview, what Kimley Horn's role is on the project, and then what we're requesting for board action tonight. So this is the project that originally we were going to do down Mall Road, connecting our water system just past Joel Estes Drive to the water system. That's at Highway 34. And if you remember way back when CDPHE came to us and asked us to help out the Joel Estes Spruce Knob Water Company folks. So we looked at routing options and came up with a better route to actually support them, get us off of Mall Road for a long stretch, and then complete the project. And meanwhile, qualify ourselves for a nice grant and principal forgiveness through the funding package. So we split it in 2 phases, basically Joel Estes Drive being part 1, and then continuing Joel Estes Drive Mall Road to Highway 34 is the part 2 part. It adds 3,200 roughly feet of 12-inch pipe, and that includes the Joel Estes portion. A whole bunch of fire hydrants. There are 3 technically complicated areas that I want to talk a little bit about, which is why we are coming back for this amendment number 2 and where we are spending extra time to do design details. And then there's a lot of varying geotechnical conditions and traffic management and control. I think, in my opinion, this will be one of our more complicated water line projects. It's going to be interesting as we go into construction on this one because of the complexities of it. So the 3 areas, we have to cross the Bureau of Reclamation Olympus siphon, and we have spent a lot of time working with the Bureau of Reclamation on exactly what this crossing looks like, where it is, and what the details are for it. They are preparing to issue for town board action soon an agreement, a license agreement to allow us to cross the siphon with these details and then also to cross some of their property. So we'll be bringing that forward as a subsequent action. We did have to make some design changes to accommodate Bureau of Reclamation's desires to have clearance over their siphon. The siphon's too big to go under, so we're going over it, and it's making it pretty shallow, so there's some technical trickery in there on the design side. Yeah.
Was that
sure.
on the bigger map?
Yeah, I can show you. Let's go back to this one. So if you follow the blue-orange interconnection and it runs across that property, and then it goes right up across that little dirt road toward Mall Road, it's right in there is where we cross the siphon. And it's pretty shallow. It's a 9 or 10 foot diameter pipe, and it is one of their major pipes. In fact, their concern with the construction, why they made us go back a couple of times and look at safety measures and how we would cross it, is that that is the principal way that they move water out of Lake Estes.
And what's the time frame that that work would be occurring?
We're hoping to advertise at the end of this month, beginning of next month, and we would bring the low bid contractor to the board. Then it would be, let's see, if this is April, May, June. So we'd bring it to a June board meeting to award, and then they'd start work in June, July, and build it in July, August, September, October.
Will there be mall road closures?
No, and I say that with a hesitant no. We're off the pavement in Mall Road, but there may be instances, because the equipment's pretty big, that we may need to do some lane detours. It won't be a closure, but we may have to do some short-term detours.
Just management of traffic?
Yeah. Yeah, we're off pavement, and we purposely went this way to stay off of Mall Road as much as possible.
Yeah.
And then we kick over, we have a pending easement from the Upper Thompson Sanitation District so that we can kick over off of Mall Road as we go in front of their new facility. So it's a...
Jackie, what does the transition look like over the river? Or what is that?
It's an
crossing?
open cut crossing, so we'll basically divert the river, open cut cross it, encase that, and then put it all back. And it has to be done at low flow. So there's certain windows when we have to do certain things because of that timing, so.
But it will be underground, it won't be
It will be
visible.
underground, yeah. It'll be open cut as we install it, but then we put everything back, and in theory, it looks a lot like it does now. It never looks exactly like it does now, but.
Low impact compaction.
This is pretty complicated because across the siphon, they asked us to do hand excavation, which they define as a shovel or a hydrovac or something like that, but you can't put big equipment on and dig. So that's going to take a while to get across
What
that
is the
too.
depth of the siphon there? You said it's 9 or 10 foot diameter pipe. How deep
Yeah,
is it?
only a couple of feet deep. I'm trying to look at the drawing right there and see if it calls it out specifically. Yeah, I can shovel, right? It's pretty shallow there.
Will those requirements require that there's a specialized contractor that does this, or any contractor can dig with a
No,
shovel?
pretty much any contractor who does pipeline work should be able to do it. It's the means and methods that we will control across that construction, meaning they can't put equipment, they can't drive tracks across it, they can't use an excavator, et cetera. And then they have to, they will be observed the whole time by the Bureau also.
Yeah,
They want to be out there.
Looks like fun.
So that's probably our scariest one, I should say. It should be easy enough to do, but it's kind of a scary item. Then another big one is the Big Thompson River crossing, and what does that look like? So we've gone through a lot of permitting for this. We went to Larimer County floodplain. We got approval for that. We did some hydraulic modeling, scour analysis of the bridge. How far away can we be? How close can we get, et cetera. We need to avoid Upper Thompson's effluent discharge. We've coordinated a lot with them to make sure that this is in a good location for them. This also is a heavy fishing area. So what the drawings and specifications require is that the contractor stockpile some of the river cobble and so forth that is out there, and then put that all back as close to existing condition as they can. This one, we will require the contractor have previous experience having done an open cut river crossing with diversion. It can't be just anybody coming in to do this one. This is a little scary too. The diversion itself is not something that it is not undone. We've done it before. You know, you saw it downtown. I mean, it's happened before. It's a typical way of crossing. It's just kind of a big, busy area.
How long do you think that would take?
We're estimating for this crossing 3 weeks.
Okay.
And then the Highway 34 is the last real technical point of concern. This one's going to be nighttime construction. So they'll work 9 p.m. to 5 a.m. There's some specific traffic control requirements. It'll be one lane on the weekdays at night, and then two-way traffic. They'll plate it, so people will be driving across the plating. Depending on what we run into on the geotech side, because this looks like an area of pretty heavy rock, we're hoping to get across there in a week, but if we start running into a lot of rock issues, it'll look a little different.
Do they put plates over it at
Yeah,
night?
they have the big
Yeah.
steel plates that
Right.
during the day that they cover it with, and then at night it'll just be single lane traffic. So again, these three complicated areas added a lot to the design considerations, and more particularly a lot to coordination with the different entities that manage and govern these. So we've had a number of meetings with CDOT, Bureau of Rec, and et cetera. So there's been quite a bit of coordination on these, and then we parallel Highway 34. Same deal here is that we are not in the highway, but we probably will have lane shifts during construction in the highway on 34 just because of the equipment. It's pretty large. Oh, and then to top all that off, there's a lot of XL gas lines all throughout this area. Yeah. So what's Kimley Horn's role? They were the engineer of record, so they're the design firm. They helped us identify the permits, permit requirements, applications, negotiations, ongoing work that we're doing with them now. What we want to amend their contract now is to add back in the evaluation of bids and the cost estimates and helping us select the lowest qualified bidder. And then doing technical inspections. We'll have our own oversight during construction, but there are these particular areas that are very technical in nature that we'd like the engineer to be present when we're doing these. And then make sure we're complying with permits and the design requirements. This is our second amendment with them, so I went ahead and put up what we did in the original contract, what we did with Amendment 1, and then what we're asking for in Amendment 2. So when we came to you for Amendment 1, that's when we had split the contract from one package that they were hired to do into the Joel Estes and Highway 34 Mall Road piece. Then we also took the bidding phase services that were in the original contract and applied them to the Joel Estes portion only. So now we need some bidding phase support for the Mall Road. So that helps us evaluate the bidders. Are they qualified? Do they have the right paperwork? Who is the lowest bidder and does it make sense, et cetera. And then to help us with the construction oversight of this, because we moved the construction oversight from the base contract to the Joel Estes portion. And our request is that we approve Amendment number 2 for Kimley Horn to support our bidding phase services and specialty inspection services.
Questions for Jackie, Trustee Eigel?
One of the topics that's come up before is when we look at the original cost or bid for a project, and there's not a big difference between original bidders. It's the change orders that really get you. This is a pretty significant, as a percentage goes, difference from the original bid. Do you remember way back when that was approved, what the competition looked like and what the difference was between bidders for this project?
We did not select based on cost for the consulting firm. We select based on qualifications and then negotiated their fee.
Okay.
And the reason this has been a change in Amendment 1 and Amendment 2 is the complexity of this. I don't think any of us understood how complex this would get from the permitting side in particular.
Okay.
So, Bureau of Rec, we probably meet with them, gosh, I'd say monthly at this point.
Say no more, yeah.
Yeah.
Bureau, yeah.
Other questions for Jackie?
Sure. Probably not that one, huh? Okay.
In my years of operational oversight in a couple different kinds of industries, for-profit and here the hospital in town, I'm well aware of the discovery factor in long-term and complex projects and how you can, and especially when you get Bureau of Rec and other players involved in CDOT and everything, that over time it can drive it. We knew going into this that there were likely hidden complexities. I think now we've illuminated it very brightly, and there still might be a surprise. And yet, yeah, I'm pretty comfortable with what you've got.
Well, and that Amendment 1 was really driven by the state coming to us and asking us to change and see if we could absorb the Joel Estes portion. Yeah. So we basically redesigned a portion of that piece and split it into 2 bid packages instead of 1, which costs more for the consultant because there are 2 meetings and they're watching 2 contracts and they're evaluating 2 construction phases and so forth.
Other questions? I will open it for public comment if there's public comment, and I see none. Based on that, we can go with the motion.
I move for the approval of Resolution 41-26.
A second.
Trustee Hazelton moved to approve 4126. Mayor Pro Tem Sinak seconded. We can vote. Jackie, thank you. Thanks, Ruben, for being here for moral or whatever type of support. So, yeah.
That answered PUC questions.
Yeah. On to report and discussion items, and Director Fortini from the museum will give us the Estes Park Museum 2025 annual report.
Okay, good evening, everyone. I'm just going to go ahead and present our annual report here, looking at what we did in 2025 and talk about some stuff that we have planned for this year as well. I appreciate your time tonight. We usually present on this a little bit earlier in the year, but we wanted to go ahead and move into a new format here. So hopefully you notice that it's no longer a 9-page memo. And we have some nice pictures to accompany it. And moving into that transition too, we can go ahead and plan on sharing this with our membership and the public much easier than the format that we had before. So I'm just going to go through the pages, highlighting it. Please feel free to ask any questions you might have along the way. The basic format for it is to follow along with our mission there, that you see how we fit within the town and how our nonprofit, the Museum Friends and Foundation, support us as well. But the format of the whole report relies on our mission, where we conduct activities that preserve, share, and respect the unique history. So each section reflects that. So we'll get into preserve first, share, and then respect. The unique history of Estes Park. Just want you to keep in mind that we're doing this, you can see with our staff down below, which we were able to have our 2 FTE term limited positions throughout 2025. And that we're also talking about the museum. It's not just our museum on site, it's also the historic Boyd building we have out back, the Cobb McDonald cabin, the museum annex, the Birch Ruins, the Birch Cabin, and the Hydroplant Museum as well. Preserving history mostly falls into all of our collections work. Just a couple of highlights that I want to throw out there. We're continuing to work with the moth mitigation that we're taking on. This is something that's definitely going to take a lot of time. You can see that we not only have to monitor the artifacts that once we clean them all for an additional 30 months, that we, because of all the projects that we're juggling, it's probably going to take us, we've been into it about 1.5 years now. It's probably going to take another 1.5 years just to get through all the artifacts. And at the end of that, we'll continue to monitor that last round of artifacts. So this is something you're probably going to be seeing here and there for the next 6 years at least, the way that things are going with that. We do feel like we kind of got ahead of them a little bit here and that things are going well. So we'll see what this spring brings. That's where it really, the numbers start to show up. But you'll hear more about it. Another highlight too, just down just a little bit further, is about the museum annex improvements. We are just about done with just some very last ticket items for the 900 square foot addition that was funded by the town. We're super excited to show that off. We're going to do some more things here in 2026, and then we're hoping to invite town board to see all of those updates here towards the end of this year, especially with all the stuff we have planned in the fall. So that's going very well and turning out to meet all of our needs. The last thing I wanted to highlight was down on the bottom there with the oral history collection. We got some private donors to step forward and help fund in 2025. Digitizing, you can see there are 164 interviews from cassette tapes. That's 164 interviews conducted over 246 cassettes. Some of them ran very long. We got to go ahead and digitize those so that we can work with them in the future and get those posted online. So you can see the bottom stat there that where we have 44 of 385 interviews available on our museum website. It's probably going to take us, again, a couple of years, but we're now in a position where we can go ahead and start putting those on in groups. So we're kind of just chipping away with that and looking at doing like 20, 25 at a time and getting those online. And so we'll be coming out with press releases to make everybody aware of that when those take place as well. And with the ultimate goal of having those all available online so that people can listen to them. If they're cassette tapes, you still get to listen to them on YouTube. You're just watching our logo. If there are later ones that are recorded, then you get to watch the entire recording, and you can always request transcripts for those and everything else.
This the interview that you have.
That's a good question. We have some that go back to the mid-70s. The problem is, as you can imagine, it's just taken a tape recorder at the time. I still remember you got to hit record and play at the same time. Put that device out on the table, and the quality of them is not the best, but we do have some from the 70s. They really start picking up more in the 80s and then especially in the 90s. So we are trying to enhance them too. That was part of that project too. When we got those cassette tapes digitized, we paid for an additional enhancement for several of them just to see if we could get better audio out of it for the content. Next area we're going to look at is sharing history. This, of course, comes through programs and exhibits, getting that information out there to the public. You can see one of the highlights in our attendance box there is that we had our highest attendance that we've had compared to the past 9 years of the museum. This one's always a hard one to share because right away everybody says, how come? And I don't have an answer for that, not a firm one. You can see with the box next to it for gallery visitors, we have 91% first-time visitors. And from that, we know that they're also just drop-in. A lot of them didn't plan on being at the museum. It wasn't a planned trip. They're driving by, they see it, they have the interest for it, so they come in. And so based off of that, and with attendance being so high, it's hard to say, are they all stopping in because we have a herd of elk out front? You know? Is it because everybody's coming to Estes because we had such, mild winter? It's really hard to say with some of those numbers. However, it is exciting for us, especially as we're getting into this year with better marketing, that we'll have some more control over those variables to see what is leading into that. So we hope to only increase that number, in all honesty. Another thing about that too, we want to grow our membership, or the first-time visitors number, but we want to keep that ratio of where we have repeat visitation at right around 10%, if not a little bit higher. It's always a compliment when you get people coming back to the museum multiple times, because you see that as an indicator of the interest and the excitement from it. And so we are planning to do a new installation for our permanent exhibit in 2027 with more of a flexible space so that we can change and update components on that much easier than doing a whole exhibit overhaul, which really isn't feasible with our resources. And so hopefully all those numbers can grow together. The next box too is a great one to point out, the digitizing the newspapers. It's a project we started in 2018. We're actually hoping that we can be done with it and caught up to the current year and then continue to digitize each year in 2028. So it looks like it's going to be about a 10-year project. But to see the numbers of the use of those archives is pretty rewarding for all of us. That is not just me doing all those searches, I guarantee it, but having it as a resource for staff and for the public and anybody who has any research, no matter at what level, for our museum and for our community is great. Just seeing the views going from just under 2,000 to almost 64,000 is pretty incredible. So we're going to keep working away at that as well. One thing to point out on that too, it's pretty interesting that within the state, because that's hosted on the Colorado Historic Newspaper Collection, we are one of the few museums in the state that has that copyright permission signed off so that we can come up to current date. But we're one of only a handful that are doing those in full resolution too. And we wanted to start that even with our historic newspapers, just so we set the standard, so that as we got into, once we started doing color print and color photos, that we already had that standard established. And a lot of newspapers that are getting digitized more currently, they're still in black and white, even if the newspaper is in color. So I'm happy to say that we set that from the beginning.
Derek, can I ask, since you talked about marketing a little bit, is there, and I know we're talking recap of 2025, but
yeah,
poking about 2026, are there any plans or are there marketing opportunities, I'm just not familiar, to kind of nest under what's going on with the 250, 150 celebrations? And I know, it's not that we would totally align with that, but there's a lot of attention on history and
definitely.
that piece of it. Any thoughts on
Yeah,
approach
we
that?
have some plans for this year to explore that a little bit more and to try to capitalize on some of that. So especially doing some very specific programming in August, which is when Colorado got its statehood, talking about how Estes Park has been here before the state was here, which is an interesting concept. And so we're looking at that. With the 250, we're going to try to tie some stuff into it. It's not going to be our sole focus by any means. It is nice seeing like Visit Estes is taking a charge with that and working with the state and kind of overseeing who can do what in the community, so that as a community we have
Right.
a lot of players coming into it, and it reflects very well if everybody just kind of does their small part.
Cool.
So we're definitely contributing to that.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, definitely. It is an exciting time. Yeah, any other questions so far? Okay, respecting history. This is the one that sometimes people are confused. How do you respect history? Our biggest thing is maintaining professionalism to the standards of excellence that the American Alliance of Museums sets for museum professionals. So that's something that we're constantly doing, and we always want to highlight with our professional development that we get to complete every year. We're in a changing field, just like every other profession. We want to keep up with the current trends and the best practices to ensure that we're the leading professional museum in the Estes Park area. So I always like to note that. Our other big thing too is that we have been able to utilize those two term limited positions. We're now 2 years into those positions. And now with the budget amendment today, we'll get to extend that through the end of this year. You can see though, with our collections assistant, which was is a full-time position, that she has now completed the Estes Valley Library District donation of their local history archive, which took place in 2016. So here we are 10 years later. And basically the overview of it, it is more than 10 years worth of donations, given our average donations in 1 year, which speaks to why it took so long to catch up on that. This is very obvious that this is something we could never have caught up on unless we had that position added in there. She's continuing to work on other backlogs that we have, and we will see how far we can get with by the end of the year. But I'm also going to be following up with another report to administration and also to the trustees here, talking about that a little more in depth of what that looks like and the linear feet of that and how it really compares to making all those additions to our collection. So that's something that we're really looking forward to and looking for those opportunities and options for support so that we can look at how can we maybe even sustain that and how we're going to balance having this position and all the projects that we have. The other thing to highlight too is our volunteerism. It's something we definitely want to recognize. Obviously, we can't do this without all the volunteers we get. You can see the hours towards the bottom of this page and how that equates to, you know, $45,000 in labor. However, this is something that it is something we got to keep an eye on. We know that there's been a national downward trend in volunteerism. There has been for the last decade at least. It doesn't look like that's going to end anytime soon. But looking at how much the staff has to cover, like our gallery host position specifically, that's something it's basically equates to staff covering, you know, 7 weeks worth of open hours at the front desk there, and what that means for us. And how we have to switch gears to go ahead and make sure that happens. We definitely don't want to switch our hours. We purposely chose our hours and tabulated all those because for a lot of federal grants, you have to be open to the public for more than half the year, and we're currently exceeding that. Not by a ton, but by enough. So we don't want to do that by any means. So this is something that we mitigate. It helps a lot more having those other staff members there so we can spread that across 5 people instead of 3. Also with our visitor coordinator, part of her responsibility, even though it's a 0.75 position, is overseeing the volunteers, stepping in when they are not there as kind of the first person to go to, and then also building our volunteer program. So it's extremely helpful to have that position as well.
Derek, can you comment on usage of the museum? When do you see visitors? Well, I don't know what the hours are specifically. Is there a way to tune the open hours to when people tend to visit? I don't know if you count people by when they come in, or
Yeah,
I'm sure you track that, but
we do. We might not be as number nerdy as finance, but we do like to crunch our attendance
Yeah,
numbers and
yeah.
do some Excel sheets. Not as cool as theirs, but yeah, we've played kind of with our open hours in the past couple of decades now. So we're open Wednesday through Saturday. It's year round, and it's 10 to 4. And it works out really well. I mean, no matter how, even when we were open 7 days a week during the summertime, there's always, the 1 or 2 days that you're getting all the people in, and the couple of days that you're kind of sitting around wondering why we are open. And so you end up flexing those and changing them up. So we've explored that pretty well. We have pretty consistent attendance, even though it is still seasonal. So we know that those are the days that people are coming. For some reason, I don't know how this happened, but with most museums, not only in the United States, but in Europe as well, Mondays are typically a closed day if you're going to have a closed day, which is great to have an office day. And so, but even our numbers reflected that before we even proposed that that'd be a day that we were closed. And so we played with it a lot. I'm still very comfortable with the hours that we're open, and I still think that we should maintain that throughout the year. It's nice having a consistent open schedule. And in the winter, it might be a surprise to some people that it gets windy up here. They like somewhere to go when it's windy, especially when it's free and they can have a cool experience.
Sure. Thanks.
Yeah, definitely. Any other?
So Derek, do you integrate at all with any of the tour operators here? Because it seems like, a tour of the museum might be a good fit with the tour operator. I know it's going to mainly be, tour operators mainly going to be focused on, the park and the wildlife and everything. But it seems like there could be an opportunity to integrate with them in some manner. Maybe they're not interested, I don't know. But, particularly when you have so many of the repeat visitors who have been up here for generations, and they've then become way more interested if you've been here a long time about that history. And I'm sure that's where you get a lot of your customers as it stands. But I'm wondering if tour operators express any interest in including the museum in anything they do.
Yeah, we've had some of that. What we have to be careful with as a private business, they're charging people to do that. And where we are, because we're municipally owned and we're a free gallery, the last thing we want is somebody making money off of our free gallery and our free services to our community. So we have to be very careful on how we approach that. Any other questions before I get into our 2026 initiatives? Okay, this is a fun one, just looking forward, of course. Like I said, and you can see highlighted in each of these blocks, we still have the focus on securing outside source funding to continue our fixed term positions. We have one under the share history bubble there. The second one with the fixed term program assistant position. That's something that we were able to start here in March, and we're getting up and rolling. So we're excited to be able to offer more public programming and do some additional fundraising and reintroduce our historic tour this summer. That's something where, again, we just want to increase our resources, becoming that larger asset to the community through our local history. We are heavily focused on looking at that collections assistant position. We really want to protect that investment that the town has made and that the Friends have made in catching up on a lot of our backlog work that we've had in collections. Some of the other things to highlight, though, under Respect History, you can see that we'll be implementing a new website. Hopefully that'll be coming out this summer. It's going to be a standalone website that we are planning on will direct a lot more people and increase our visitation at the museum, especially through online searches and things like that. In looking at some marketing opportunities and speaking with freelance marketers, a lot of them were saying that they wouldn't be able to do a lot with what we have going on and have to offer until we take that initial step of having our own freestanding website. So we're excited about that. We are going to be, like I said, completing the museum annex facility improvements. And ticking off everything that we've had planned for a number of years now. All the outstanding things are funded by the Friends of the Museum. And so once we get all that done, we're excited to invite everybody in the fall to check that out and see how that facility has turned out. It's going to be one of the leading collection facilities here in the Front Range as far as museums go. So I'm very excited to have that in our community. And then under sharing history, another thing just to put out there again and reiterate is continuing to reinterpret the permanent gallery with the new installation that we're planning to open at there, hopefully before May of 2027. And so we're exploring the scope of that project and what it'll entail, but we're very excited about that, and it'll give the permanent gallery a whole nother look. So we have that to look forward to. Any questions?
So you know, some of these long-term things, you can actually see the light at the end with the digitization of the newspapers or the oral history collection or even the disaster plan draft. So there will be, you know, some size of relief in the next couple of years, you know, as you finally complete those things. So thanks for the stick-to-itness, because to keep doing those things incrementally takes remarkable patience and dedication. So thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
So I have one more question, and I think it's a tremendous facility, and what you do is awesome.
Thank you.
I'm not sure it's appreciated by our visitors to the extent it could be. And so I'm wondering what marketing can be done, like, for instance, with hotels and vacation rentals and, you know, make sure there are, you know, various pamphlets and stuff to promote it. Has that been done, and what do you see happening in that area?
I think it's something that we can, marketing is extremely interesting. It's also a hard thing because you can throw so much money at it, and if you don't know exactly what you're trying to achieve and how to measure that, then it can also be a waste of money. So I think what our best steps are as we get into this realm, once we can funnel people to a specific entryway into the museum, and we can start tracking that. And that's what we're starting with our website.
Yeah, the website will be huge.
Yeah, and we'll be able to read all the metrics on that and see the results of that. And then we also have the component of, you know, when people come in, asking them how they heard about it. And that's how we've been honestly determining how we should or should not be spending our marketing budget in the past. But I think once we have that website, we can really start pushing harder, because we'll be able to read all of those metrics going into it and seeing what's successful, and then seeing that in our gallery visitation as well. So I'm hoping to explore more. It's just, it takes a lot of time. And then you got to be careful too with some of these things. You don't want to just put in 1 year and have that be your, you know, did it work or not? You got to give it some time.
Yeah, and marketing and sales are long-term propositions for sure.
Definitely.
And I appreciate that there are things that you can spend on marketing that don't make sense.
Yeah.
And that has to be managed carefully. But I kind of see the museum as a really important part for developing repeat visitors to the community, particularly because, you know, those families that are coming here year after year and after year, it's really, you know, supporting, you know, them doing that. And when they get an understanding of their own family history connected with this, that's a big part of it. So anyway, I appreciate what you do.
Yeah, thank you.
Anything else, folks? Derek, thanks so much. Great report.
Thank you.
Thanks, Derek.
Past, present, and future, and it's a museum, you know. I know we have to look at the past, but the future looks great. So.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thanks.
We have one more item on the agenda. Estes Park Salud Clinic funding discussion. And Town Administrator Mahalik, I think you're kicking that off.
Mayor, I'm happy to introduce this item. This is a town board requested discussion at your February 10th, 2026 town board meeting. You all requested a study session to talk about the Salud Family Health, Estes Park Clinic, potential town contributions, what the scope of that could look like or does look like currently. I provided some information about the town's current process to fund Salud. They are one of our base funded entities. The 2026 budget has $30,000 in there for them. For the last 10 years, over the past 10 years, we have provided Salud with about $256,000 in funding. There have been a number of options that have been brought forward both to the board, to staff. I've seen it in the community. So I provided just a brief overview of what I've heard. It's limited to personally what I've seen. Suggestions from the public, suggestions from members of the Salud board, the Salud Foundation. 3 items have come up the most frequently: lodging tax, sales tax, and property tax. Lodging tax is an easy discussion because it's not possible. The town cannot levy a lodging tax as a statutory community. Visit Estes Park's lodging tax is levied under a separate title of state statutes, which does not permit expenditures for this purpose. The town has a sales tax, 4% base rate, 1% special sales tax that was renewed by the voters in 2024. That 1% is allocated. Those pieces have been set. The 4% runs town operations in the general fund to a great degree. So the option for using that funding would be to reallocate existing funding, which would mean reducing programs and services. Of course, there could always be another sales tax asked to the community if the board wanted to pursue that. Same with property tax. We have a very modest property tax rate, 1.822 mils. Generates about $600,000 a year. For reference purposes, you saw Director Zimmerman's presentation. We have probably a $30 million general fund budget, so it's a very small portion of that, and a $594,000 hole in the general fund would be difficult to close without making an amendment somewhere in products and services that the town currently provides. With that background, I'm happy to answer any questions the board has, but I do believe the board intended this as a discussion amongst yourselves.
I've been involved in a lot of discussions on this in the last year and a half since Salud really started bringing forth concerns. Obviously, the community helped out a substantial amount to help them extend for a certain period. In my discussions with UC Health, UC Health has contributed substantially to what's called the Provider Sustainability Fund, which was enacted by the legislature a year ago or so, that is specifically for federally qualified healthcare or health clinics like Salud. But I'm not sure who manages that money. My sense is I'll probably contact Congressman Negus's office to find out if there is any way, or it might have to be a state senator. But I'm planning to follow that road up to find out how could that 130 or 40 million that's currently in that fund, it might be more by now, much of which was contributed by UC Health, how some of that could potentially be directed or applied for or whatever. So that's a source that is intended for these FQHCs like Salud, and it'd be lovely if that was something that could be repetitive even, if that could help stand them up from year to year. So I want to just put that into the tub of discussion, that there is a fund aimed to help these kind of units, but it's Colorado-wide, so obviously there's plenty of others that are suffering too. So maybe we won't even get a slice, but it's worth asking the questions. But who else? Trustee Brown.
Yeah, so I've been following up on this quite a bit. The Provider Sustainability Fund, my understanding is that Salud Estes Park did not receive any of those funds, but I'm not sure they even applied for them because the current year has been funded essentially by private contributions. And it's pretty clear to me that private contributions are not a sustainable source of funding for them. And of course, the main problem here was largely created by changes in the federal budget and changes in the federal support of community health centers. And that, at least for the foreseeable future, is probably not coming back, but it could at some future point. And hopefully it will, because I think that is an appropriate source of funding for groups like this. I do believe that as a community, we have an interest in not just maintaining our hospital, but maintaining a robust health system for everybody in the community. And the Salud Clinic largely deals with either people on Medicaid or uninsured, and they have some insured patients as well. But they, they're dealing with the more vulnerable in our community, and that's a concern of mine, that we need to address that. Now, I don't really think the town is going to be the source of funding that, by and large. I like the fact that we do base funding at least to show our support from them, but the level of funding needed for that is not something that I think the town is likely to support, and we're not likely to, increase our sales tax for that. I just think that's not reasonable to think that that is the role of the town here. However, having said that, I think the town can serve a role of trying to get the parties together to discuss solutions for this that seem like they've not been really doing to this point. I approached the hospital district board and asked for their inquiry with UC Health to see if we could get UC Health to direct some of the tax money that we're contributing as citizens, which is about $5 million a year, towards the support of it. I don't think it would be just that. I think it's likely going to be a combination of things to ever come up with a solution to this, and maybe temporary, maybe permanent, who knows. But I'm concerned that we lose that facility without really, as a community, coming together and figuring out how to develop a mechanism to support it. And what I would like to see happen, and I mentioned this to you, Mayor, and I know you're thinking about it, but no conclusions at this point, which is fair, is convening some sort of task force where we get the new hospital board, the hospital district board, UC Health, the town, and maybe there's some other, well, I guess Salud would be one of them for sure, to get together and discuss publicly, what is the future of community health for our community and how can we sustain that? And with no preconceived ideas of how we might do that, but I know, for instance, the hospital district itself is kind of struggling with what it is now in light of the acquisition of the hospital by UC Health. It used to manage a hospital. It's not doing that anymore. So, what are they there to do? Well, essentially, most of what they're there to do is to collect the mill levy, about $5 million a year, which is pledged to UC Health to support the hospital. Well, it seems to me that on behalf of our taxpayers, they ought to be advocating for the use of those funds, since they are taxpayer funds, and determining, what is the health environment, and is it just the hospital? Are we only going to have a hospital and no primary care for the less disadvantaged, the more disadvantaged people in our community? Or are we going to figure out a way to help support those people when the federal government has stopped supporting that? And I think the role of the town should be to help convene that, maybe lend some of our people from restorative justice to help facilitate the discussion of that. So I raise that up as an idea that I think this time is ripe to help figure that out, because as I have said many times before, I am very concerned about the social cohesion of our community because of the division in so many different ways, the different special districts, the fact that half of our town lives outside our town borders, and now we have, the issue of the people that work in our restaurants and our cleaning services that can't afford and don't often have regular medical insurance coverage, and it's affecting their health and their ability to serve our population here. So it's an important thing to me that I think we need to consider and talk about convening something along those lines, because if we don't do it, I don't think anyone else is going to do it. And I know that people always talk to the town about, well, the town does everything, right? No, we don't. We're basically doing two major things. We're doing infrastructure and land use planning. But beyond that, we can serve as a catalyst to try to get the parties together to discuss this and try to come up with some viable solutions, because if we don't, it creates problems for the health of members of our community that aren't insured. It creates problems for our employers who can't maintain the health of their employees. It has ripple effects throughout our community that we need to acknowledge and figure out how to address. And without us serving in our role as convening something like that, I don't see how it's ever going to come to pass. And it's an important thing that we do address. We may not come up with a solution. Any solution we come up with is likely imperfect and not going to solve everything, as these solutions often are. But I would like to advocate that we start talking about doing something along those lines. And it may not be Salud. It may be another community health center that comes here if Salud cannot survive. Fine. That's not the point. It's not about just saving Salud. It's about having a community health center of some sort to help support our population that doesn't have insurance or is on Medicaid and is limited in their ability to access primary care. And, you know, like one aspect of Salud that people often don't know about is the amount of dental services they provide. And they do free checks at the school, I think, with dental services. So that's an aspect that you're not going to get anywhere else. And so providing those dental services is also part of it. And dental services often have influence on other health issues, because it's pretty easy to get infections from your teeth that affect other things that have, you know, can affect whether you get a heart attack even. So things of that nature. So it is an important thing. And I think, I don't think the town is going to fund it. I don't think that's realistic to think the town will, but the town can certainly help get the community talking to figure out how to come up with a solution. And so I would advocate that we start working on coordinating something along those lines.
Trustee Agel.
Thank you, Trustee Brown, for your passionate advocacy for Salud. I think they do provide a valuable service to the community, but I don't think the town can fund them. And I would nominate you to assist with putting that coalition of people together. If you think I don't think that we can fund it, and I think that if I believe in it, I would send them a check myself. However, I think that if you want to tackle that, I would support you bringing that information back to us to listen more about.
Yeah, and those UC Health and the taxes that are generated from Estes Park that go into the UC Health coffers to support the hospital here. That and the provider sustainability are probably the two biggest pools of funding that seem to have some applicability. My current concern about a task force is I think it might be good discussion, but I think it's still, the bell's going to get hung around somebody's neck to take it forward, and that's probably almost a unilateral function to talk to the right authorities and try to address that. If we had a task force, you might have several voices with that, but I don't know whether that demands more attention than a representative individual from the town attempting to convince those resources that we really, really need that and to try to find a way. So that's my struggle with the task force. I'm not sure whether the discussion will open any new lights or pathways to other funding sources. If people do have other ideas of funding sources, I'd welcome them. But those, to me, look like the two pools of funding that are worth trying to leverage, and I'll continue to use my voice and office to try to dislodge those. Anyway, what other, Trustee Hazel?
Yeah, no, good comment from both of you. I think I understand and agree with many of them. My question is for Travis. As base funding recipients, are they scheduled for their update to us, do you know off the top of your head?
I'll have to check on that and get
Okay.
back to you. I'm not sure if they've given it yet this year or not. I don't think they have, but
I
I'll need to
don't think they
track
have, but I
down
just
when they're scheduled.
wasn't sure when they would be coming, because I think that I'd be interested. The last time they came before us, from looking at my notes, we spent a good amount of time talking about their approach for this, and I know the mayor's had some conversations with them. It sounds like some other folks have too, but be interesting to hear where they stand on that, and if they may not. I think Bill, what you're saying about using our power for good, I think is a good idea, and I also understand where Mayor Hall's coming from of what would be our resulting outcome that is that perpetual funding and a sustainable plan. So I'm curious if they've stumbled up that tree too. But good points from both of you.
I've been trying to prolong the meeting, Marie, because I know you're down to your last two, but I think we have run out of topics unless anybody has anything further.
I've moved to extend the meeting beyond 10 p.m.
Yeah, 4-1 against that. This meeting is adjourned.